Hey everybody, we are jumping into quadratics this chapter, so let's get started. So a quadratic, is a function that can be written in the standard form of y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a cannot equal 0. The graph of this is called a parabola. We talked about this in class today if you were here. So remember, we went outside, our friend from class kicked that ball, and we watched the ball go up in the air, go kind of to the peak of how tall it was going to get. It came back down in kind of a symmetrical shape. Then when it bounced off the ground, it came up and did another bounce, 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 bounce. All of those curves, right, they're not linear, those are parabolas. The parent function for the family of all quadratic functions is f of x equals x squared. And every parabolic shape or every parabola looks like some form of this, where it'll start when x is 0, y is 0, and it'll look like this. So this is my parabola. And there's a few things we need to know about it. There's this point right here in the middle where we can see everything comes from, and this is called the vertex. And in this case, the vertex is 0, 0. There's one more thing we need to know, and because this is a symmetrical shape, this line right in the middle through the vertex is also called the axis of symmetry. Where if I folded that drawing on the axis of symmetry, it'd be identical on both sides. So let's try to graph one. So if this right here, I already have y equals x squared, I want to graph y equals 2x squared and compare what the differences are. So if we're going to make a chart, we can plug in any value of x, literally any value, and then we can plot it. So let's go ahead and plug this into, okay, so y equals 2x squared. So if I plug in x is -2 into 2x squared, I end up with positive 4 times 2 is 8. And then here we get positive 1 times 2 is 2. And then here we get 0. Here 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. And lastly, 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8. So we have these points, -2, 8, -1, 2, 0, 0, 1, 2, and 2, 8 that we're going to graph. So let's put that over here. -2, 8, so here's -1, -2, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. -1 up 2, 0, 0, 1, 2, and 2, 8. And let's draw that shape. And we see that it's skinnier. We see that it's skinnier than the other shape, and mainly that's because of this 2. It gives it a vertical stretch, but we'll talk more about that later. So let's talk about our key concept. So we have a few key concepts. We can see a couple of different things. We see that both of these are the general form. The difference is this a here is greater than 0, aka we call that positive. And this a here, in this case, is less than 0. Another way we call that is negative. So what does it mean when the value in front of the x squared is positive? Well, it means that the graph is going to go upwards somewhere, okay? It's going to go upwards. Whereas if the a is negative, it's going to go downwards. It may not be exactly like starting at 0, 0, we'll see. So then let's talk about the axis of symmetry. Remember, the parabola is perfectly symmetrical. So the axis of symmetry is going to go right through here, okay? And the axis of symmetry is going to look like this. So the axis of symmetry to a parabola will always be x equals, because a vertical line starts with x equals, and it's going to be the value of the negative times whatever the b is, and this is b up here, all over 2 times whatever a is, and the a is right here. And the same thing goes for the other type of graph. X also equals negative b over 2a either way, where again, this is the a and this is the b. So let's talk about what the vertex is. Remember that the vertex here is that lowest, is that point that everything else comes from. And so just like the axis of symmetry, the x value is negative b over 2a. The x coordinate is also x equals negative b over 2a. You may notice that these are the same, which is good news because when you find one, you find the other. Same thing here. This is our axis of symmetry, but also it goes right through where the vertex is. The vertex is the point on the graph that everything else comes from. So we say that's x equals negative b over 2a. And then when we're talking about a maximum and minimum, we're looking at the vertex. So if the vertex here is the lowest point possible, we call that a minimum point. And here, this point, this vertex is the highest point possible. We call it a maximum. So when a is positive, the vertex is a minimum. And when a is negative, the vertex is a maximum. And then the other thing they both have in common is the y-intercept is always the value of whatever c is. Both of them. So this c is right here. Okay? That's it for today. I'll see you back in class.